John C. Fremont hit deep snow, got bogged down, and left the cannon to be recovered at a later time. John C. Fremont and Kit Carson are exploring this supposedly untamed country, and the cannon is there for their defense. So there is this mystique associated with it, as well as it's a very interesting object, 220 pounds of bronze, this piece of artillery that's out there, that's lost. It's a treasure.
UNLV, Bill Ireland in particular, was the guys that mapped out and said, you know, this is something we ought to consider doing, make it a prize trophy between the two universities. We'll call it the Fremont Cannon because General Fremont explored both the North and the South, even though he became a state senator in California. And that's how the Fremont Cannon came about. They would announce when the Fremont Cannon's ready, the crowd would stand up and roar. They'd fire that thing. Well, we had a player by the name of Steve Bryant, and he was at the back of the team line when we were coming out. And, you know, he said, hey, take the field, and the team goes storming out to take the field. Steve was at the back of the line, and they always fired the cannon. You know, when we said, here comes the Wolfpack, they'd fire the cannon. Well, for some reason, the discharge was late this time. And when it fired, the wads hit Steve in the back of his jersey. Coach, Steve Bryant's just been shot. I said, shot? What happened? I mean, I'm in a panic. And he says, the cannon shot him in the back. And you looked over and you saw Steve, and you saw these smoke coming off his jersey. He was not on fire, thank God. But that was the last time that the Fremont Cannon was ever fired.
The 12-pound mountain howitzer was modeled after the French 12-centimeter mountain howitzer that they developed for the mountains in Algeria. And this is one of the cannon that they thought would work well in the western US. They had 13 of this particular model, the model of 1835, cast. Our particular cannon is number 3, cast in 1836 in Boston by the Cyrus Alger Company. And this cannon was not only accompanied Fremont, but proved itself in battle years later in the Mexican-American War.
This is my university. I mean, I'm an alum. This is where my whole adult life has been. It's where I met my wife. It's where my children went to school. So the University of Nevada is more than just my university. It's my family's university. And I always felt, whenever we lost, I felt bad that I let the community down. And whenever we lost to UNLV, that burden for me personally was even stronger. Even when UNLV was better, I just felt that, you know, you got to find a way to be a better coach and of course, keep the cannon home because it means so much to our community. To this day, it's still the same. UNLV has accepted that there is a legit rivalry, but in terms of the fondness and the tradition and the history of where we were, where we are, where we're going, it's not close. I mean, the tradition and history of that cannon in the University of Nevada, it is special. It's implanted.
There's always just a tremendous amount of emotion that went into this game. We were one AA program, they were a 1A program, and for us, we had a chip on our shoulder, right? We always had something to prove. We had 65 scholarships, they had 85 scholarships, right? We've got a beautiful facility here at Mackey Stadium, but they always had something that was a little bit better. So we always had something that we needed to prove.
We had lost to them the year before when the red defection took place. He beat us by, I think it was 4 points or 6 points. So they were coming back up here in '95, and we're going to make sure that that's not going to happen again. We end up winning the game 52 to like 31, something like that. Because they initiated that fight before, I just felt my team had an opportunity to take the ball and score. We had Mike Maxwell at quarterback. We led the nation in throwing that year. And we took a timeout. I called the team over and said, we got 20 seconds. I want to say, I might be wrong, I want to say we had 50 or 60 yards to go for a touchdown. I said, we're going to throw the ball every time. And if we have to take a timeout, we're going to take another one. I got to tell you, that offense erupted. I mean, they were, because usually you're going to sit on it. We went out and with no time on the clock, threw the ball in the corner of the end zone, caught it for a touchdown, and the game was over. Our crowd exploded, our team exploded, and of course after the game, that's the famous Quincy Sanders deal when he threw his helmet at me.
Those weeks preparing, I mean, how was Coach Hall? How would you describe his practices?
With UNLV, because the fact that it was such a big game, because of the fact that there was the rivalry between the North and the South, Coach would bring in speakers, he'd bring in former players. There was always something that Coach was looking to motivate the team with. Frankly, he didn't have to motivate us that much. Like I said, we had the chip on our shoulder, and we had something to prove when it came to playing UNLV.
Been on both sides of winning the Cannon and losing the Cannon. One thing I can tell you about losing it is it's the worst feeling. It's an empty, sickening feeling in your stomach when you lose it. But when you win it, it feels like you just won the Super Bowl and you're bringing home the Lombardi Trophy. The Cannon means everything to the community, and it's not a successful season unless you beat UNLV and bring the Cannon home.
I take a tremendous amount of pride in the fact that my teammates and I went undefeated in my career against UNLV.
This game means an awful lot to those. There's, we have a lot of new influx of people in this community now that do support the Wolfpack, but there's still a lot of people who have backed the pack since day one, and that game has a special meaning to them. It's just a special pride factor that the Cannon's up northern Nevada, Reno, Nevada, at the University of Nevada.
That cannon, can't see it in this frame, but that cannon should never, ever, ever be red. And that's the biggest motivator that we ever had. And again, take a tremendous amount of pride in the fact that it stayed blue all my years.
If you win this game, you win a championship. You bring home the trophy. It doesn't matter if you win or lose the rest of the year. If you win this game, you always can say that you brought the Cannon back home. So we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure the Cannon stays blue.
When I was a little kid, sitting on the cannons in front of the remains of Stewart Hall, and kids, myself included, would play on those things. And yeah, the cannon clearly belongs up here at UNR rather than the other university down south. Part of that is that it passed within 20 miles or so of here back in 1844.
The birthday of the state of Nevada, you're playing your football game against your rival, and this year it happens to be up here. I couldn't imagine a focus or any kind of a game opportunity that was any better and more exciting than that weekend's going to be here at our university.